is to first we have to go into global configuration mode in our router, and then we specify line VTY and then 0 to 4. Now that we're under the VTY lines, as you can see here, I have a lot of options here, but I'm not going to be using many of these at all in this lab. What I'm going to use here for our first type of authentication, Telnet authentication, is the no option, and then we'll follow it up with the login. So this is going to bypass password checking. So basically we're taking, the router is taking off the checking of a password on the VTY lines on the router. So this is a very dangerous implementation of Telnet, in which we are basically allowing anybody access into the router. They do not have to authenticate basically this way. So if we specify no login here and hit enter, go back to router 1 and do a telnet to router 2, now you can see here that we have gained access into router 2, and we were not prompted for any type of authentication from router 2 at all. Again, we did this by putting in the no login command under the VTY lines. So again, this is a very dangerous implementation of Telnet access, of logging into a router remotely, because with this type of access, anybody can get into our router. So this is probably the most we do not want to prefer this type of authentication. So let's go ahead and show you guys the second form of authentication here that we can put in. And the second type is where we're going to specify a global password pretty much for any user trying to telnet in. So it doesn't matter if you're coming from router 1 or router 100. If we go ahead under here and type in the command password and then follow it up with the clear text password here, we're going to put in, we'll just put in password Bowler CBT Labs and then hit enter. So now what happens here is, if we get out of, let's exit out of router 2. Now if I try to telnet from router 1 into router 2, actually hold on a second. Let's see, should not have let us in here. Let's do this here real fast on router 2. There it is. And as you can see here, here's our problem. Even though we set up a password under our VTY lines, the no login feature is still given priority. Even though we have a password under the VTY lines now, no login is taking priority over that. So let's go ahead under line VTY 0 and 4, and we'll put in the option to login. So now if I do a show run on router 2, what I should see here is that under line VTY 0 through 4, I have the login option, and I also have password as Bowler CBT Labs. So now on router 1, if I go ahead and try to telnet back into router 2, you can see here now that I am prompted for a password. So if I go ahead and type in the wrong password, it's going to ask me again for another password. If I type it again, it's wrong. Type it one more time, wrong password, it gives me the prompt and says bad passwords, and it clears my connection. So now if I try to go ahead and Telnet in and I put in the right password, as you can see here, now I've gained access into router 2. So that was our second form of authentication, and that is a simple form of the authentication into router 2 via Telnet by just assigning a global password under the VTY lines. So any user, doesn't matter what router or what device you're telnetting in from, you're going to have to every user has to put in the same password as Bowler CBT Labs. So let's go ahead and change this and show you guys on the third way here. We can do authentication via Telnet. So we'll do a no password Bowler CBT Labs.